Hello, and welcome to Talking with Famous People. I am host Eric. This is my friend Lacey back there, this shoulder. Ciao. And tonight I'm going to attempt to type a famous person Unify. Unify, you may notice his name is not on our attendees list. It's because he's mastered stealth mode. Okay, so Unify, my first question to you. Let's go with some straight ahead personality questions first off the bat. Number one, do you often forget small objects or items when you go to work or school? Like, oh, I can't believe I forgot my blah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. Um, do you feel like you're sporty? You're good at sports or athletics?
Am I good at sports? No, not at all.
Okay. Do you feel as though if given the choice to hang out in a group of any size people, from you by yourself, you and one other person, you and two, you and three, you and four, what the total size group from one to infinity that you want to be hanging out with?
Me, myself, and maybe porn.
And maybe who?
Maybe porn.
Okay, yeah, all right. So one. Okay. So you are definitely you consider yourself an introvert then. He said porn.
Right.
It was a reference to our previous conversation, I think. Um,
Hmm.
okay, so you consider yourself an introvert. That's good. I mean, the fact that you do tend to apparently you probably do you find you spend a lot of time alone
Yes, sir.
when you are alone, but you're not on the computer. Let's say you were just sitting at the kitchen table in the morning. There's nothing on the table, and it's 6 a.m. You've got nothing happening. You don't have to be anywhere until 8 a.m. Let's say or 10 a.m. Let's say you got 10. You got three hours to kill, and the electricity is gone out in your neighborhood, and you don't have time to leave to go someplace else to get electricity. You have to do something non-electrical. What do you do?
What do I do? I'm perfectly fine just staying at home, trying to find something to read.
Reading. Okay. Do you read things like physical objects reading a lot, or mostly internet reading?
Mostly internet reading.
When you're reading stuff on the internet, are you likely to be reading news stories, Facebook feeds, articles, like special interest articles? What kind of thing are you most likely to be reading about?
Uh, News, politics, anything that's interesting.
Okay.
Keep me going.
When you are reading a story about politics, let's say it's a story about a Supreme Court decision, are you how emotionally engaged are you likely to be with what you're reading? Is it sort of like, oh well, that's an interesting thing that they did there, or is it more like, I can't believe they did that?
If it was a bad decision,
Yeah,
then
it's a
about the
bad
Supreme Court.
decision. It's a bad decision. How emotionally, how upset are you about it?
I guess it depends on the severity.
So your emotional reaction is going to be proportional to the severity of the harm.
Right. On
That
50.
that's logical. Okay. If I were to say to you, picture this situation: you are ice skating, and everybody else has left the ice skating rink, and the sun is setting, and you're sitting at the edge of the ice skating rink, and you realize, wow, this world is so full of options. Would you? How would you? Would you be comfortable knowing and describing what you're feeling in that moment? How would you experience that feeling of like rightness or whatever emotionally? How would you experience it emotionally? Can you describe it?
Uh, I probably can't describe it right now. Uh,
So you
what I'm
feel
feeling. If I'm feeling like happy,
Yeah. How many different kinds of happy are there for you?
Just happy.
Just one? Okay.
Yeah, just happy.
Um, do you feel comfortable answering questions about or thinking about stuff that, like, how do you think what do you think your position on this will be in 5 years? Do you feel like that's a question you can answer, or a question that is unreasonable to ask because it's too far away, you can't know?
Uh, well, we all evolve, right? So I
We
might
do.
grow more SE. So I might just be,
Okay, well, let's say you
yeah, I might
do.
be more.
Can you project?
Yeah, go
Can you
ahead.
project? Can you? Okay, so let's say we both agree you necessarily are going to evolve over time. You're going to change as a person, grow, develop. Can you project out based on current vectors how your development arc is likely to manifest 5 years from now?
Uh, Maybe so. But I might just be just as logical. But I might, uh, yeah, I might be able to process my emotions too. About 5 years.
So you feel as though in 5 years you'll be better able to process your emotions than you are now?
Yeah, hopefully. Because right now, I can't express any relationship I get in. It just fall apart. I feel emotionally detached.
Okay, and then does the girl say, or the guy? I don't mean to assume you're heterosexual, but assuming you are anyway, does the girl then go like, "Why are you so distant?"
Yeah, yeah, that's usually how it is.
And they say, "What's wrong?"
Yeah, and I'm feeling fine. I may look angry. I may look bored. I may look uh unhappy in some kind of way, but I'm not. I just look this way.
Do you think you're a more visual person or more of an auditory person? Ears or eyes? Which would you rather? Which, if you had to lose one, would you rather be blind or deaf?
uh, I guess you can. If you had to figure out a problem with just eyes or just ears, I might have just eyes. You can solve
No,
it more variables that way.
but
But
let's
yeah,
say it's a permanent choice. Okay, you can't. It's not. You can't turn it on and off. Like, oh, this problem will do just eyes. That problem will do just ears. You have to for the rest of your life. You're either going to be blind or deaf. Which one do you choose?
uh, well, if I had to not see people, then that might be okay. So yeah, I might just go with the ears.
You're gonna keep the ears and lose the eyes. You're gonna be blind. Is that what you say?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's my answer too. It doesn't take me quite as long to answer it. To me, although being blind would be awful, don't think I'm
yeah, it would.
under impacting it. But what I couldn't stand would be able to not be able to have conversations with people if you couldn't hear.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Uh, what if I were? Have you heard the troll question before? I'm sure you probably have. Yeah.
The troll question?
The
No.
troll on the bridge. Well, I'll ask it to you. Even if you have heard, let me know, and I'll ask you to do something else with it. So the question is this: there's two villages. It's the olden days. There's only horses and stuff. Okay, and these two villages are very isolated from other villages, hundreds of miles away, and it's winter, and so they're locked into their area there. They really can't get out of their general geographic region, and they're the only two villages there. They live on opposite either side of a river. The river cuts the village in half, basically. And on
Oh
the
yeah, I think I
okay,
have heard it.
okay, so on the east side, for the viewers who might not have, on the east side they grow all the food. On the west side they have all the town stuff, and the people on the west side need to get food across. So I mean, the people on the east side need to get food to the people on the west side. So they would normally take the bridge has been washed out. A troll is there, and now he has the magical power to sense if you have food. and he will take 10% of your food if you cross. He can sense if you are carrying food across. He will sense it. He will steal the food, 10% of it, and you can't afford that because you won't make it to the end of the winter if you have to give him 10% of your food. So if you have heard the question, you've heard some of the answers before probably. What would be your answer? Even if you choose one you've heard before is fine, but what answer? Talk me through your thinking process.
Uh, so I have to give him food, 10%, right?
That's what yeah. If
Every
if
time.
you cross the river with food, he will take 10%. If it's like somehow he's so fast, he just comes right up and steals 10% of your food before you even notice he was there.
Uh, you could compensate by growing more food, but then so he only take food. What about people?
He doesn't bother you if you're not carrying any food.
So I'm on is it like a boat?
There is a boat, yeah. But if you're in the boat and you're carrying food, the patrol will steal the food from you anyway. It doesn't matter if you're in the boat or not.
And people on the west side need to get food from the people on the east side.
Correct. And the bridge is washed away.
You might take, you always take 10%. You might take one person every trip to the west side with just the right amount of food for the trolls, and at the same time the right amount of food for that one person.
But he takes 10% of whatever you're carrying. If you're carrying 1 grain of food, he'll take 10% of that.
Right.
What's funny is you
So
already noticed what I think is the key warrant in the whole thing. But I don't know what I'm not going to say anything more than that. It's I'm interested to see where you go from here.
but the problem is the troll, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to take maybe twice as much, twice as much food.
Well, you it doesn't. If you had 10% more food than you currently have, then you could afford to give
Okay,
10% of
so
your food to the troll. But you don't have 10% more food than you currently have, and you can't grow anymore right now because it's winter.
but can you carry more on a boat?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if you had 50 tons, he'll take 10% of that. If you have 5 ounces, he'll take 10% of that. So no matter what, if you carry food across on the boat, on the river, then the troll is going to take 10% of it.
Yeah, this might take some thinking.
While you're thinking about that for a second, let me just mention that I have begun making, and I'm going to try to hammer it out the rest of it tonight, or as much of it tonight as I can. I began making a long time ago a choose your own adventure personality test series of videos, where at the end of the first video, it has a card that'll say, if you choose this way, go to this way, this one. If you choose this, go to the other video, And then that video then will
Right.
branch out like that too. So I'm going to try to finish that tonight. It's this sort of thing, right? Except it would be a series of binary choices. I think it might be fun. Hopefully, I get it done soon, and you guys can tell me if it's fun or stupid. Any thoughts any thoughts, Unify,
It might be
on
fun.
the troll?
Well, can you can you like relocate the troll? Can you like take the troll to the other side?
He lives in the middle of the river. You can do that, but you have to physically capture him or kill him or something like that. That's one course of action. Is a possible solution. Some people choose that solution.
I might have to capture him,
Okay. Um,
but it's against his will, so I don't know.
Well, you already pointed out the solution, but you just didn't you didn't quite take the next step. You just pointed out, you asked me to clarify for you. So he doesn't bother people if they're not carrying food, right? I'm like,
Right.
correct. So all you got to do, you don't have to carry any food across the river. You just have the people
Just
from the
go across
east.
the river.
You just have the people from the east go across to the west side of the river and eat the food over there.
Yeah.
um, but of course, they have to go across the river 3 times a day to eat if they have 3 meals a day. But
Right.
that's one solution. I think probably the best solution is kill the troll, or
Really?
cap. Well, sure, because he's committing a crime, right? You've got a career
Oh,
criminal who steals 10% of everyone's food as they cross the river. And the only reason anybody might ever think he's anything but a criminal is because I chose to call it a tax. And I did that for that exact reason. Because it reveals how quickly or how readily people shed their assumed paradigms.
right. Well, it's a. I mean, I know it's a crime, but it's not murder. So that would
Uh,
not be a reason to kill him, right?
okay, well that's true, and I think to be just, you'd have to say, Troll, you are under arrest, and then either punish him in some way. Say, okay, Troll, you've been fined 5 times the amount of food you stole, or
Right.
and then the troll will either go away or whatever, or the troll proves to be non-rational. If the troll proves to be non-rational and you can't put him on trial anymore than you can put like that gorilla on trial for dragging the kid in the zoo, if
Right.
that's the case, if the the creature's non-rational and you can't figure out a way to make him stay away from your part of the river, and at that point I think you got to kill him, because otherwise it's just like if a wild animal kept attacking your sheep and you're a farmer, you're gonna kill the wild animal eventually. You've tried to put up fences and stuff like that, but if it doesn't work,
Well, it might be too easy, right?
I mean, I agree with you. I agree that's too easy. That's too easy, and that's too convenient.
It's kind of like it's almost like a cop out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I'm saying that's you. The fact that you say that right there tells me you're definitely TI and not TE, because a TE person would say they would note the fact um, that we should try to do it in ways that are less harmful, but they'd have no problem with the efficacious approach, I think. Although, if it were not so directly violence, it would be more clear cut. But I think Ti is the one who's most likely to say, but that's not, that doesn't really resolve all the justice issues, Eric. you know,
Yeah.
I, yeah. So I would guess that you got NETI in the first two. Since you're introvert, that makes you INTP, which would make sense. We get a lot of INTPs around here. Another possibility, because I'm pretty sure you've got TI in the first slot based on your what would sound like fourth slot FE, is then you could be ISTP. So those are two. Those are my two possible guesses here. I'm going to go with INTP as my primary guess. What do you self-identify as?
INTP.
Well, there you go. And I think your answers were very, very consistent with the type. Your explanation about how in relationships the other person finds you too detached, or that's fucking textbook INTP.
Yeah, always.
Nobody's ever found me too detached. I mean, they find me either like a lot of people have a off on relationship with me, where it depends what mood I'm in whether they like me or not, and like my ex-wife was a lot like that. If I were in a certain mood, she'd love me, and if I were in a different mood, she'd hate me. And I think it really was my changing moods more than hers. Although she could be a little moody too. We were both extroverts.
What type of she?
ESFJ, ESFJ, which is a great wife type. That's the type you want for a wife if you're an introvert. If you're ENTP, then she just got too bossy. Yeah, like she would. One thing that she just despised is if I did something that was inconsistent with social protocols as she perceived them. So, for example, if I didn't take my sunglasses off when I was having a conversation, I'd hear about it after the fact from her. Eric, you have to take off your sunglasses when you are talking to people.
Well, why would you have
Why?
the sunglasses?
Because she's fucking FE dumb. That's why. So she's,
Uh,
and she couldn't stand it when I wouldn't look at her when she's talking to me. Because she wants to be reading my facial expressions the whole time. But just because I'm not looking at you doesn't mean I'm not listening to you. This was a core conflict we had because it didn't matter to her if I was listening to what she said. It mattered to her that I was emotionally engaged with what she was saying. Whatever it was. It didn't matter what she was saying, right? So it's like
you ever try to explain to her, like maybe I can look, I can have a
countless
facial
times.
expression of somebody who cares, but I might not actually care.
Well, that wasn't, I
I
mean,
can,
my point was the opposite. I might not have the facial expression of somebody who cares because I'm drawing a picture while you're talking. That makes it possible for me to pay a lot more attention to what you're saying.
yeah, that makes sense.
If I am actually looking at you when you're talking and telling me something, then I'm thinking FE shit about I don't want to stare too long. Or, like, when should I look away? When should I not look? Like, that kind of stupid shit. Whereas if I'm drawing a picture, I'm not thinking about any of that stuff. I'm just drawing a picture, which doesn't require any of my attention because I'm not trying to make my picture look like anything. I'm just doodling. It's like whatever shape comes out, it sort of turns into something.
You know
Um,
yourself.
yeah, so it doesn't require my conscious attention at all. But for my ex-wife, that was the whole point of having the conversation was for the two people to exchange emotional payoffs with each other. Have you
That's too much for me.
now? You mentioned having been in a relationship or two of some sort. Um, do you find yourself drawn in relationships to girls, other people who are introverts, or to extroverts?
Introvert,
Introverts.
definitely.
That's not. I think that's more common than people maybe think. That introverts like extroverts for a while, but they don't want to actually be in a relationship with one because uh,
Yeah,
it's
because
just
I wound up being sexually attracted to extroverts more, but I wound up being
compatible.
more intimate than introverts. Yeah, more compatible than introverts.
Well, there's plenty of room for both of you to express yourselves. That's one thing. The question is, I think one. I have a theory, and this is the first time I've actually said this on talking to people. It's a theory I came up with a few days ago. Not really a theory so much as a passing thought that just reoccurred to me. But it's that one reason why a lot of introverts talk to me on talking with famous people, at least as many, probably realistically a lot more than extroverts, it may be because an introvert might feel safe, so to speak, in my conversation hands insofar as they know that I'm not going to feel like, oh, there's some awkwardness or uncomfortableness because of some silence or whatever like that, because I've always got something else to blabber on about. So it occurs to me that an introvert might feel more comfortable in an environment like this for public conversation anyway, where the host is comfortable filling space with whatever anytime.
And that filling in space is authentic. It's not trying to fill the space with something. It's just, what I'm saying, talking about what you want to talk about. What's on
Right.
your mind.
Well, I think it's interesting you use the word authentic there because I think that's the problem. That those things are almost the same thing, right? Like, oh, well, I'm a little concerned. I think Unify's a INTP. He's pretty, like, all his answers are right in line with that, and he self-identifies as one. So I mean, he says that he's INTP. I think he's INTP too. So um, anyway, because that's the discomfort of awkwardness that people experience, and they experience it more when they're younger in general, I think, and they get a little bit more familiarized with oh, it's okay, actually. It's like that took me many, many years to get sort of comfortable with. That is embarrassing. That thing that's making me cringe right now, that is embarrassing. And it's okay. It took me years and years, and I still am a little cringe sensitive, right? More than a little. But it's okay, right? The person who's making a mistake, good for them for doing the action. And when somebody makes a mistake of some sort, if they think that I'm gonna give feedback like that, it would start with that. Good job taking action. Like the drummer Nick in the band last night, he had this shirt on called Ratchet Boys, and it was pretty dorky, I thought. But he explained he I'm like uh, Ratchet Boys. I was confused for a second because see Delilah used the word to mean ghetto, like or like slummy, like
Right.
oh, that's really ratchet, and then she means like it's low class or whatever. But this meant he's a car guy, and he meant we're the ratchet boys, like we have wrenches. And he told the story of how his friend at the car school they had made this joke one, or it was sort of like a joke, I guess, or a thing they shared and bonded over in car mechanic school, where he said he came out from under a car and held up a ratchet and said "ratchet boy," and then they're that's funny. The next day he came in and he had made shirts with that on it, and and Nick's reaction was kind of like, "Oh, you did that, huh?" And and immediately my first reaction to it was like, "Ooh, that's too much." But then I thought,
Right.
"No, it's not, Eric. Fucking idiot. No, it's right on the fucking money. He felt like doing it. He should fucking do it." And if it's not aesthetically perfect in some sense, if it is kind of a mistake or cringy, that's the way to you have to fight through those things. You can't avoid them. I can't. Maybe an INTP can. INTPs seem to have the playing it cool thing down, but for me, I got to fight through all that shit. I got to fight all those battles one at a time.
Yeah, because I wouldn't really care.
Well, I've said this before. At the end of the day, INTPs really don't just don't give a fuck. I mean, they're just not that emotionally engaged with anything. But I think I think what you enjoy uh, interesting parsings of ideas, which it makes you perfect friend companions for ENTPs, because we like to do that as well. And I think that INTPs and ENTPs, that on some level you guys, I think INTPs understand ENTPs a little bit more than ENTPs understand INTPs in general. But I'm beginning to feel like I understand INTPs pretty well. This is more having interaction with a whole bunch of you guys. Um, the uh, the thing is, it's my position that nobody else besides INTPs and ENTPs really gets the NTP thing. That the NTP thing is distinct um, from. I mean, probably the same is true for any two of those like sister types or whatever you want to call them, where it's the same functions but different order. But I think that we have the NTPs generalize less well to the majority of the population than the other types. Like we're kind of alone with each other.
Yeah, that's true.
I think INTJs have a similar but opposite problem, which is they're they don't really. It takes them a while to even, I think, note or make note of, be aware of the stuff that makes us cringe as being It's like they're not naturally going to experience those sort of things as a regular vector, so to speak. But they they're a lot of times going to be perceived. INTJs are going to be perceived as socially awkward. I don't find them personally socially awkward, but I understand why they're perceived as socially awkward. Could I explain some more? Well, they come across as robotic, and they come across as what you would say is a 1980s stereotype of a nerd. So they, yeah, whereas INTPs do not come across that way at all. INTPs and INTJs may end up in similar fields, and they may end up excelling. Both types may end up excelling in tech fields or whatever. I mean, INTPs are less likely to achieve in ways that are like countable, measurable. But I mean, I also devalue those unmeasurable success criteria, the measurable success criterion. I mean, so I mean, I'm with you on that. INTJs are more likely to be more higher paid, basically. But INTPs, I mean, to the extent that you guys do care about other people's perceptions of you, you're totally winning that thing. Your strategy works. Nobody thinks a bad word about you. Some people are intimidated by you. Some people just think you're that super smart person who's like really quiet. And other people don't notice you or ignore you entirely until you want to make them notice you. So it's like you guys, there's nothing socially awkward about you because you're scheming about that shit. You don't just walk into it blind. INTJs walk into it blind. They don't have. INTPs are the ones who are socially adept, despite it in the fourth slot. INTJs are not socially adept because they don't have extroverted feeling in their conscious stack. And their introverted feeling is third.
Third.
Yeah. So INTJs
So
are
they
the ones.
act faster than.
Say again?
Would they act faster than would they ration out the situation before they go into it, or would they do that?
Well, I think that the INTJ is going to look at basically his own feelings as to whether he wants to engage in this social action. And so for an INTJ, a social action is going to be purposeful usually. And to the extent that it's purely social, it's going to take a little cajoling to get them to understand the point of it, right? Like when I did successfully get John to go to Canner's with me the other night, right? But I could tell he didn't understand. Well,
Come on, Andrea. Andrea.
is
What?
that you, Robert?
Might be. Hold on.
I'm gonna mute you for a second, okay? Okay, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, INTPs, INTJs. INTJs are like John. I said, well, you want to go to Canner's? And finally, he's like, well, okay, yeah, okay, why not? Because it's like, and it's only because I hit him at exactly the right time. It wasn't too late. He was home for college on vacation, and that's okay, Robert. Don't worry about it. And yeah, I talked him into it. But for him, I could tell there was a sense of like, why are we doing this again? What? We're just doing it to hang out, John. To be friends with each other. INTJs don't quite get that whole thing. They want everything to be purposeful. But INTPs, they want everything to be purposeless. They're like, well, I've got my own purposes for shit. They're inside my head. You don't need to know about them. Suffice it to say, you roll up on me, I'm going to beat you. If you don't roll up on me, I'm not going to incite you. There's no reason to. That's the INTP life, It's much less of a roller coaster than the ENTP life. The INTPs I know, none of them seem sad. None of them seem especially Zach's like the happiest seeming INTP I've encountered. My friend Matt, who's the INTP I've known longest and I'm really close friends with in real life, as far as I can tell, he doesn't really experience any emotions at all. I mean, his range goes from like, this to this. Like he's ecstatic. Oh, you're joyful right now. I can tell your lips moved slightly. Um, but yeah, but the funny thing is, Matt has determined. Of course, he's capable of a lot of objective self-criticism. It's one thing that INTPs and INTPs have in common, I think. Although INTPs come to it later, but he also understands like he's not a good interview. He's willing to be interviewed, but I've interviewed him a couple times, and he's just so goddamn boring. He doesn't want to give up anything interesting about himself. He just wants to, play defense all the time. So the thing is, I think the important thing for INTPs is find something to be earnest about. That you can be earnest, because I discovered earnestness late for sure, and it's extremely powerful to not reserve that distance sometimes, to be wholly committed and to shoulder the risks of disappointment that come along with that.
I'm trying to find a way to express myself.
Well, you're expressing yourself right now. You're welcome to come and talk with Faith People anytime. And if you feel like making some sort of video and you don't want to have your own channel, but you want it to be seen by somebody, you're welcome to upload it here as well. I would love to encourage people to make host whomever your name is. Interviewing one of your friends would be great. If you follow the format and you send it to me, I will certainly put it up on the channel unless it's absolutely terrible. In which case, I'll send you an extensive feedback thing explaining in super FE laden bullshit what you're doing wrong. But I mean, keep in mind, I do shit wrong all the time, so you're welcome to critique me too if I do critique you. But the only way I would even do that is if it was really, really terrible. Like, instead of doing what I suggested or some variation of that, you would have done like, it's Unify doing naked ballet under a street light or something. Then I would be like, okay, Unify, we need to talk about this.
Yeah, I wouldn't take offense.
What? I told you I want to open Unify's Naked Ballet Theater. Well, in that case, fine. Let's put it up there. All right. You're serious about it? Let's do it. All right. So that's a good ending spot, I think, for this video. And I believe Unify's INTP. And if anybody disagrees, put it in the comments. Say, no, Unify. You're ESFJ. Thanks for watching. And stop.